Oh, they have a spell bomb. Oh, a second spell bomb. Oh, a third spell bomb. Oh, now they have a cage. Oh, now my opponent has a ghost vacuum. And a Tamiyo. What? Can we win against this deck? Please, please. Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your dredge guy, and today we are back to Legacy Dredge, Turbo Dredge, but with 3 important differences. I told you here on the channel before that I will take this opportunity on November to test every possibility, not only Turbo Dredge, but also Turbo Dredge, Blue Dredge, maybe Rainbow Dredge, who knows. But not only testing the different builds that we already did play here on the channel. I want to test some tweaks. And this is my first time testing an important tweak. Let me tell you about that. There are 3 different things comparing this build here today that we are playing today to the previous version that we played 2 days ago. So this version has 3 basic lands. Yeah, that's right. We have 1 basic island and 2 basic mountains here. And why I'm playing 3 basic lands and Turbo Dredge? That's crazy, I know. I believe I was the first player who did introduce a basic land in Legacy Dredge. I'm not sure. At least since I started playing Legacy, I never saw anyone playing a basic island before. And when I built my previous Blue Dredge lists, I started playing at first 1 basic island and then 2 basic islands, because this was a reliable way to always have Otherworldly Gaze at your disposal during the game. Well, since Blue Dredge, many things did happen. I built Turbo Dredge with Anger, and with Anger we love to have a mountain on our side of the table, but it is weird to play a basic mountain if you have Breakthrough, Otherworldly Gaze, and Careful Study, and only Faithless Looting as your 1-mana enabler. So that's why we are trying Burning Inquiry for the second time here on the channel. I played this, I did test Burning Inquiry in Modern, in Legacy, and every time I play Burning Inquiry, of course, we'll have more mountains or more red mana. And in Legacy, I want to test 2 mountains, so we can always cast one of our 2 oxen from our main deck. I know this seems weird because we have only 14 lands, right? And 4 of them are blue sources, Cephalic Coliseum. But let's remember that Legacy Dredge is one of the best decks to mulligan aggressively for a great hand. If you compare this list that we are playing today to Rainbow lists, for example, that usually play only 13 lands and not 14 as we are playing here, so maybe you start to understand why we can play mainly with red and blue mana and even 3 basic lands. For example, those lists usually play with Putrid Imp. Not always, but usually at least 1, sometimes even 4 copies. I won a Legacy Challenge, 2 Legacy Challenges I believe. I won with Dredge lists featuring 4 Putrid Imp in the main deck. And if you have Putrid Imp that costs 1 black mana, you, in a standard Rainbow Dredge list, you have access to only 9 black mana sources. So here, if we put LED aside, we'll have 11 blue sources and exactly 9 red sources. And this is maybe pushing too hard, right? This is maybe too greedy compared to our previous lists. But I think it is probably okay if we want to test it. Maybe we, after this test, and I must warn you guys that this is a test, I'm not expecting to win trophies with this list or anything. But I think it is important, since I want to prepare myself for the Eternal Weekend. I think it's important to push the boundaries of our beloved archetype a little bit more. So I want to test 3 basic lands. So I know this is crazy, I know. Many of you will see this and immediately will say that I should play the playset of Volcanic Islands instead, and maybe only 1 basic mountain. But 1 basic mountain or 1 basic island are not enough to cast Otherworldly Gaze and Ox of Agonas in the middle of the game. And that's why I think even Turbo Dredge needs 2 basics if we play in a heavily wasteland metagame like this one. So yeah, I think I did explain why I want to test 3 basic lands. But maybe this is too much, and after this league we'll have the confidence to keep 2 islands or 2 mountains, or even stop playing Turbo Dredge. This is the beauty of this thing, right? We are testing things, and maybe this will work, maybe this will not work. What else? Since we are trying 2 basic mountains, because we have 2 oxen in our main deck, I'm trying Burning Inquiry again, and the 4 copies of Burning Inquiry and only 1 breakthrough. So we are exchanging 4 Careful Study and 1 breakthrough for 4 copies, the full playset of Burning Inquiry. And one last change. I told you at the end of our last league that I missed the second copy of Dread Return, even Satoru to combo with Thassa's Oracle. Well, since now we are red, we have more red than we ever had in the past. Now I just exchanged Thassa's Oracle for a second copy of Dread Return. The way I see this, we always will find our anger as long as we can Dread Return and return Ox once, twice, or even cast Ox with its escape ability. So I believe I'm not sure, this isn't tested of course, but with 2 Dread Returns and 2 Oxen, we played this in the past. I think this maybe can work. We'll try the same sideboard that we played last time, because we didn't have many opportunities to playtest those cards. I still think Consign to Memory maybe has a spot in our deck, especially against Eldrazi and the Wandering decks or Storm decks. This is like a catch-all. We can play even against green decks. Silent Gravestone is super well positioned against Frognator and Reanimator decks, 3 copies of Line of the Void to help us against graveyard decks, and 4 bounce spells that are also a catch-all. We can include them against temple decks or maybe against permanent graveyard hate, like Line of the Void, but also other artifacts. And that's pretty much it. I think I told you everything I think about this deck before playing it, but let's play it to see how it goes. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you are ready. Enjoy playing Legacy with me, and let's get this party started. Okay, round 1. This is a mulligan. This is also a mulligan, I guess. Or maybe we can keep this. It's a weird starting hand, but we have access to 2 red mana. We have LED, one of our best cards, as long as we hit one of our 6 red spells with Flashback or Escape. My opponent starts with Ponder, and we can cast Cabal Therapy on turn 1, targeting ourselves. If this Cabal Therapy gets countered, we can maybe hit a 3rd land and cast a Liquid Imp from our hand on turn 3. Let's see what we draw. Another Therapy. That's excellent, because we can cast twice 2 therapies. You know what? Let's start with Cabal Therapy here, because I think my opponent has a counterspell. They kept 7 cards, and I want to resolve LED. Oh days. Okay, we will not pay for it, but we will try again next turn, and let's try to resolve LED immediately. It resolves. So next turn, unless my opponent has Wasteland, next turn we will try again, casting our second copy of Cabal Therapy. Okay, my opponent replays their island and a second Ponder. Okay, no shuffle again. So my opponent wants their top card. Anger is not especially good at this point. Let's cast Cabal Therapy targeting ourselves and see if this resolves. We are daze proof. My opponent is thinking, okay, it resolves. Think with, not sync with, stink with. And we have 2. Now we can discard our imps. My opponent knows about anger, but I'm feeling safe here. My opponent doesn't have black mana, so if this is a Frognator deck, they cannot cast Entomb and reanimate it immediately. Maybe this is just a temple deck? Let's see. My opponent plays Underground Sea. Now they have access to black mana. Oh, my opponent is passing the turn, representing Bowmasters, I believe. Yep. Now it's our turn, we'll dredge. And if we hit any of our... Okay, we have Faithless Looting and Poxwalkers. So let's discard our hand to LED. Poxwalkers will trigger. We already have a Breach from Below and 3 Cabal Therapies, so we can disrupt our opponent's hand really good with these Poxwalkers. Oh, my opponent will counter with Force of Will and Brazen Barber. That's fine, that's still fine. Let's see what our opponent has in their hand. Sacrificing Poxwalkers, triggering Breach. We'll have a 2/2 zombie. Okay, there is an answer from my opponent. Okay, it's an Orcish Bowmaster, so no 2/2 zombie for us. My opponent will probably kill their own Bowmasters. Oh no! My opponent decided just to play Bowmasters, and now we have a 2/2 zombie. Beautiful. This is actually better for us. So let's name Brainstorm, I believe. My opponent had 2 Ponders. Okay, just a Fatal Push and a Thoughtseize. I think we can get rid of both. Since now our Breach from Below is safe, let's enjoy it the most, because now we have Angry Zombies and we can start attacking. So Fatal Push. We could let our opponent have a Thoughtseize that seems useless, but if my opponent just get a Brainstorm, for example, it is useful to just get rid of the majority of their cards. So a Thoughtseize. The most... I mean, my opponent is not Hellbent, but now they have only a land. And let's attack with our zombies. My opponent is down to 13 already. They decided to not block. Yeah, my opponent conceded the game. I think this was kind of fast. my opponent's deck wasn't that great before sideboarding. This seems like a temple deck, so we can include into the Flood Mall. Since my opponent has, of course, these days it can be anything. This can be Blue-Black Reanimator, it can be even Doomsday, you'll never know. But with Orcish Bowmasters, I would say that this is just a tempo deck, a blue-black tempo deck. And since we won game 1, I think I will just submit the deck back without any changes. Our opponent had a Fatal Push, a Thoughtseize. I believe they will keep their Thoughtseizes. Okay, no lands unfortunately. This hand would be beautiful with a single mountain. Let's mulligan. Okay, this is the better version of the previous hand, so let's keep. And we'll put Bridge from Below back to our deck. This can be a turn 1 win with double LED. My opponent plays Polluted Delta, Underground Sea, and Ponder. My opponent also had a mulligan to 6. Okay, they chose not to use Ponder's abilities, so no shuffle. They like what they saw. Another Burning Inquiry, not exactly what we want here. We could go for, let's see if my opponent will counter. No. Let's resolve our second LED. We'll go for a basic mountain here. Should we go for Burning Inquiry without cracking LED first? I think no, right? We are here for turn 1 wins. Let's go for it. No fear. And if my opponent has a Force of Will, that's fine. We already did discard or 2 dredges. Daze is not good enough, my friend. This is definitely not good enough when you have 2 LEDs. Yeah, my opponent did concede. This was super fast. We already won our first game. This was a great show. Let's keep going. Round 2, we are on the play. Okay, this is a keep. My opponent is an Eorion deck. This is a keep. We have a solid mana base in our starting hand. We have a Faithless Looting. If my opponent counters Faithless Looting, we'll have access to Faithless Looting in a couple of turns with Flashback. Whoa, we have 2 Dredgers and an LED. Great. I'll not reveal LED yet. Let's see what my opponent is playing first. I don't want to force them to... Okay, Mox Diamond and Underground Seas. This is the Psychic Frog on turn 1. Can we beat it? Usually when we have a good turn 1, I like to keep Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, we'll dredge. Lion's Eye Diamond undercovered. Okay, let's think here. Let's do some math. We'll play LED. If this resolves, I think I will go for it. Cracking LED for blue mana. Because if you crack LED for blue mana, I can crack Cephalic Coliseum and still have mana to cast a Faithless Looting. If my opponent counters LED, I can play a Cephalic Coliseum past the turn. But if my opponent don't counter LED, I also could just wait 1 more turn to have double Cephalic Coliseum. This would be another possibility. It all depends about what my opponent would do. Let's decide after my opponent's decision. Okay, it resolves. So let's go for it, right? We don't need to wait, especially because my opponent had a turn 1 Psychic Frog. So let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. We have Dredge 5. Dredge 5, our Ox is there. Let's see if we can get a Dredge return. We already have Anger. Dredge 4. Okay, now we have Otherworldly Gaze and Faithless Looting. Let's try our best looting spell. We are not playing around Daze, but I don't think my opponent has counter spells. Let's see. Yeah, it is resolving. Dredge 6 and Dredge 5. Alright, we don't have Dredge return yet, but I think we have the win. I have so many Cabal Therapies there. Only 2 actually, but it seems enough because we have 3 bridges. What we should name here? Okay, I named only Balls of Fire because I was afraid that my opponent could give up without revealing me their hand. Now we know that they are playing an Esper build. So let's name Swords to Plowshares. And against a Tamio, a Leyline Binding, and a Psychic Frog, we are good to win this game in a couple of turns. Let's attack with everyone. Playing paper, this usually will not happen. Your opponent will concede whatever they want, right? But playing in Magic Online, sometimes your opponent has a 5-second window to concede the game, thinking about conceding and conceding. And if you want to have some information with Cabal Therapy, you should be quick. That's why I clicked on Balls of Fire immediately, without thinking too much, because in the past, many of my opponents did concede on situations like this one. And now we know that we are fighting an Esper build. Yeah, my opponent doesn't have an answer, but they stopped playing for some reason. Oh, my opponent did concede after some minutes. Okay, should I do some changes here? This is an Eorion deck, Eorion Esper Temple deck. I think I'll just submit the deck back because my opponent can have anything really. Maybe they are on ley lines, maybe they are on cards like Grafdigger's Cage. But they are playing an Eorion deck, so they will not have the answers in their starting hand so easily. In situations like this, I prefer to not sideboard at all. And let's just see what my opponent is playing first. Maybe they have something different, some spicy card that we don't know about it. But we didn't see any graveyard shenanigans, so no Leyline of the Void. If they are heavily playing Fairy Macabres or Surgical Extractions, we can consider Silent Gravestone. My opponent chooses to play first. This is unfortunately not good enough. My opponent is mulliganing into 6. Since we are not playing Surveil lands, this is not reliable. Let's mulligan. In Otherworldly Gaze we trust. We have 3 lands. We already have a Dredger. Ox of Agonas is also good. We don't know if my opponent plays Wasteland or not. My opponent kept 6. We are on the draw. Let's keep it. I will put the bridge back to our deck. It will be shuffled with our Scouting Tarn. My opponent starts with a Surveil land. We like that. They put their card on top. And now we draw. Another Otherworldly Gaze. This is actually good. Let's pass here instead of cracking this immediately. My opponent can have Force of Negation. They play Flooded Strand and passes. No Psychic Frog, no place. Maybe representing Orcish Bowmasters or even Containment Priest or cards like that. Let's grab our Volcanic here and cast Otherworldly Gaze. It just resolved. Is my opponent something like Esper Vial? Let's keep both on top here, LED and Faithless Looting. Even if my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters, I think we should cast Faithless Looting here, even if they do have the Bowmasters. Because if we resolve Faithless Looting, we win the game. I don't think we need to play around days, but I don't see why not. We don't need to reveal Cephalic Coliseum this turn. Let's see if this resolves. Okay, my opponent had a Force of Negation. Exiling Uro. This is actually a win for us. We are fine. We have another Otherworldly Gaze in our graveyard and another one in our hand. So I think we are still slightly ahead, unless my opponent has a great turn 3. They play a Tundra. Like man, okay, Psychic Frog. And now at the end of this turn, we will do nothing because I will draw LED. And now I will play my Cephalic Coliseum and LED. Let's see if this resolves. Okay, it just resolved. Probably my opponent had only Force of Negation and not other counter spells. We have some options here. I could discard this immediately since we already have a Dredger. And this way we'll have more mana to cast Ox of Agonas and crack Cephalic Coliseum and cast Ox again. And I think this is probably the best. Let's Dredge 4, Dredge 6, and Dredge 5. We have an Amoeba, Cabal Therapy, Breach. Let's discard our cards. Let's see if my opponent has something. Nope. Maybe they have Force to Plowshares. So we can cast Ox of Agonas here, our first Ox this game. Even without Dredge Return, we can sacrifice Ox and cast Ox again. Okay, now my opponent will Brainstorm in response. Is Ox resolving? It is resolving, okay. So we probably have the win here, guys. Unless my opponent has something like Solitude, or maybe. Because now we did reveal many bridges. We have so many paths to victory here. Different paths. Let's cast our first Cabal Therapy, sacrificing Amoeba first. This is probably a mistake. I should sacrifice Ox of Agonas first. I think I'm slightly tired. I did work a lot today. Okay, my opponent will discard Force of Vigor to Psychic Frog. Why my opponent playing that card against me? Okay, so let's name Swords. Plowshares. Just a Wasteland. Okay. We can cast Otherworldly Gaze now. Nothing important on top. Just a Cabal Therapy. We already have Anger. We have multiple Cabal Therapies. We have Dredge Return. Let's sacrifice Ox here. We can even reanimate a large Golgar Grave Troll if we want to. So let's name Grave Troll. We can reanimate the first Troll. It is hilarious to win with hasty Grave Trolls. It will be what? 8/8, a 9/9 haste. Let's cast another Cabal Therapy, targeting our opponent. It doesn't matter. I'm playing loosely here, guys. I'm not playing tight because we already have the win. So we can name Sticker Goblin here. If we want to have the most of your Dredge returns, you should also force you to discard Stinkwood Imp at this spot here. So your Grave Troll would be 10/10, for example. And my opponent did concede, and we won our second match. Let's go to our third one. Round 3 against donhaggis. And we are on the play. This is weird. I'll keep it for the science, and because I'm kind of tired. If this Burning Inquiry resolves, we'll just see what will go. But this is not a good keep, of course. We have 2 lands. I shouldn't keep this, right? Guys, I think I'm slightly tired here. I start to do bad plays when I'm tired. I play so much better at mornings than in the afternoon, compared to afternoons. So yeah, this was definitely a mulligan. Let's focus here. Let's focus. We'll start with our basic mountain and Burning Inquiry. Okay, it is resolving. My opponent is playing Eldrazi. Okay, we forced my opponent to discard their Vexing Bubble, and we have a Dredger and Poxwalkers in our graveyard. We did discard a Breakthrough, but it is okay because we don't have blue mana. My opponent has Once Upon a Time. We didn't discard Ox of Agonas, but if we reveal a single Cabal Therapy in our graveyard, we can cast Golgari Thug or Narcomoeba, cast Cabal Therapy targeting ourselves to put Ox in our graveyard, and cast Ox on the next turn. My opponent found an Eye of Ugin, the Eye of the Tiger. And my opponent passes, okay. We'll dredge 4. Otherworldly Gaze, unfortunately no blue mana for us. We are playing red. And since we already have creatures in our graveyard, let's just cast Golgari Thug. We don't have dredgers anymore. So now we depend on our top deck. My opponent plays Cavern. They chose Eldrazi. No surprise there. And green mana, Eldrazi Repurposer. Okay, now my opponent can sacrifice their Eldrazi spawn token at any moment. Let's see if they value mana or exiling my bridges. We will draw. Burning Inquiry is a good draw here. Let's attack first. Let's see if my opponent wants to trade. I hope they do. It would be great. No? Okay. Not trade, of course, to kill my Golgari Thug, I mean. And now now we have a Ox of Agonas for next turn. My opponent did discard Eldrazi Repurposer, Thought-Knot Seer, and Glaring Flashbreaker. Now we have a Cephalic Coliseum, so we can cast Cabal Therapy, Golgari Thug, Narcomoeba, or Otherworldly Gaze. I think the right call here is to cast Cabal Therapy twice. The first one from our hand, targeting my opponent. Okay, just resolves. Let's name another Flashbreaker, maybe? Let's name Kozilek's Command because it is the scariest card against us. Okay, no Kozilek's Command. They have another Sowing Michael Spawn and a Vexing Bauble. Since we have Dredge Return and Ox of Agonas, the scariest card here is Vexing Bauble, actually. My opponent already have access to Wasteland. So let's take that bubble from my opponent's hand. And, okay, Poxwalker's triggers, Golgari Thug. Oh, oops. You see, guys, when you're tired, you do bad clicking and bad choices. I should order Golgari Thug's trigger before Poxwalkers, so I could choose Poxwalkers. Now, since I want Poxwalkers, I just choose Ox. Okay, let's name a Vexing Bubble here. Vexing Bubble. Yeah, I'm definitely not playing tight here, and luckily this will not cost us the game. Let's see, because I could just cast my Dredge Return, returning Ox of Agonas this turn. And now I'm giving one extra turn to my opponent. Yeah, this was super bad. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry. Sometimes when you do like me, I have a short window to play today, and sometimes we do some mistakes. Hopefully this will not cost us this game. Let's see what my opponent will do. So I'll explain again why my play was so bad. And it's important to play Dredge with attention, because several situations like this one will always occur in your own games, in your own matches. So I have Dredge Return, I have 3 creatures. I wanted Ox to be returned in my previous turn. We could do that twice and maybe win the game on that turn, because we have 2 Dredgers, 2 Golgari Thugs. But one mistake lead to another mistake, and we did 2 punts in the same turn. But luckily we will win next turn. Okay, now my opponent forces us to exile Bridge from below. They will place Sowing Michael Spawn. They can force us to exile a land. They are deciding which one is better. I would say Badlands, but since they have a Wasteland in their hand, maybe they think another land is better to exile. Okay, Mounting. Yeah, because it's the basic, it makes sense. Okay, my opponent wants a Wasteland. They Wasteland my Cephalic Coliseum. And that's it. Okay, guys. Now we have a Mountain. We just need to find Anger to win this game. So let's return Ox of Agonas. Both Poxwalkers will enter the battlefield again. We'll Dredge 5. Another Ox there. We'll Dredge 4. And we'll Dredge 5. We have Narcomoeba, Cabal Therapy. No bridges yet. Okay. Now I will cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Sacrificing... we don't need to do that, right? Let's just grab our second Ox first. We can sacrifice Ox. I think I'll sacrifice Ox here because I value more the flying bodies than Ox body, because my opponent will always have blockers for Ox. So let's keep Narcomoebas in play. We'll Dredge 6, we'll Dredge 5, we'll have another Poxwalkers there, another Bridge. My opponent cannot sacrifice creatures anymore, so this Bridge will stay, at least this turn. Our creatures already have haste. Let's build a small zombie mob. I don't think we can kill our opponent here, but we can almost kill them. So Sowing Michael Spawn, maybe my opponent has another one? No. Oh, Talisman of Curiosity. Okay, let's take it. Let's take it from my opponent's hand. Talisman off. Okay. And now let's just create more zombies while we can to have more attacking zombies this turn. My opponent has 2/3/3s, so they can just block some zombies, that's fine, but I will attack with everyone. Let's push some damage. Next turn we'll have access to 3 Poxwalkers. Oh, they will kill Ogs. So we'll have 1 extra zombie before exiling our bridge. And now my opponent has only lands, 1 Eldrazi spawn token, and 1 Michael spawn. I think we have these guys. What can my opponent do in a single turn? Kozilek's Command, they have a Gaia's Cradle, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, they can put 4 bodies in play with the Kozilek's Command. We'll still hit them dealing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can win in 2 turns even with Kozilek's Command, but they can find something. This is still turn 4. It seems like a long time since this game did start. Okay, my opponent plays Yavimaya. We have only 8 cards in our graveyard. Yeah, in our deck, I'm sorry. My opponent has a Wasteland and another card. They don't have mana to activate Eye of Ugin. But my opponent is not conceding, they have something. Okay, 3 mana. Okay, just another Michael spawn. Now they will exile our Badlands for a Blast Zone. Interesting, my opponent can activate Blast Zone to get rid of our Narcomoebas. I think I'll just draw here. Think with Imp. Let's attack with everyone. The zombie mob with 3 flying illusions. Okay, my opponent blocks 1 zombie, another zombie, and 1 Poxwalkers. So 11 damage, my opponent will go down to 1. They will keep 2 creatures in play. They activate Blast Zone. Since they have Yavimaya, they can do it to put 1 extra counter on it. Okay, my opponent is down to 1. We should we have the win. We had the win 2 turns ago, but we should win this game next turn anyways. If my opponent taps mana to get rid of our Narcomoebas, we'll still have 2 creatures to deal damage. Okay, my opponent finally conceded the game. Okay, let's play this until the end. We have Consigned to Memory specifically for a match like this one. We are not sure if my opponent plays with Line of the Void or Fairy Macabre or anything else. The Eldrazi decks used to play Line of the Void, but lately everyone is playing Fairy Macabre, so you'll never know. Let's just include Consigned to Memories instead of some of our threats and one of the Otherworldly Gaze. Let's try like that. Oh, or maybe Otherworldly Gaze is good with Consigned to Memory because you can hold both on our first turn. But let's try like that anyways, because we already have so many 1-mana spells. And we probably don't need to hold Consigned to Memory on turn 1 if we have other stuff to do. But definitely on turn 2 or 3. I'm still not sold on this card. This is my first test against Eldrazi using Consigned to Memory. Let's see if it will shine in this matchup, or if it's just necessary at all. Okay, this is not a keep, unfortunately. This could be a keep on turn 1, game 1, against Delver. Okay, this is a keep. Not the best, but it is a keep. Let's put Dredge Return back. It is too soon to have access to Dredge Return. My opponent starts with Cavern of Souls, naming Eldrazi. Back symbol. Alright, so our Dredge Returns will not do the best this game. Let's crack Scalding Tarn. For a basic mounting, we have 2 red spells in our starting hand, and my opponent is a Wasteland deck. Okay, we have another Faithless Looting, which is good. Unfortunately, no other land. I would like to have a second land to cast Ox in the middle of the game. My opponent kept 7 cards. We had a mulligan. Eye of Ugin, bring mana, and Eldrazi Repurposer. That's fine. You see, guys, sometimes in the past I told you here on this channel that Breach from Below is not well positioned in this metagame. That's why I'm not playing with the full playset anymore. And Eldrazi decks are one of the reasons behind my decision, because your opponent can force you to exile your bridges at any point. So, Faithless Looting. We could go for a Burning Inquiry here, but since we have only 1 land, I want to extract the most of my cards. Of course, this can maybe backfire if my opponent can cast a Thought-Knot Seer or something, but I still think this is the right play. Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. We unfortunately don't have a Cabal Therapy yet. Oh no, we have a Cabal Therapy. 1 Cabal Therapy, 1 Poxwalkers. This Cabal Therapy will just create a 2/2 zombie if my opponent keep Eldrazi spawn token alive, and can bring back a Poxwalkers to the game. My opponent is posing here. What can they do? Maybe they have Fairy Macabre. Or even Kozilek's Command. My opponent can cast a Kozilek's Command with X equals to 1. Okay, they are sacrificing their token to have a colorless mana, and that's it. Okay, my opponent preemptively, is that right? Sacrificed their token just to create some mana and forced me to exile my bridge. That's understandable. And now we pass the turn. My opponent has 3 mana. Let's see if they have a third land. Eye of Ugin is not exactly mana, but to cast... Okay, Ancient Tomb to cast Eldrazi spells. Glaring Flashbreaker, okay. And something else. Oh, they have Thought-Knots here. Wah, wah, wah. Now I think we should top deck a mountain to cast Ox of Agonas from our graveyard. I think this is our only chance to win this game. My opponent's Flashbreaker will win this game in a hot minute. And they already have another Eldrazi spell token. So let's draw. Consign to memory. A little bit too late and we don't have blue mana this turn. Let's concede this, guys. Let's save some time. We will not win this game. Let's be honest. Okay, we had a Cephalic Elysium on top. It will not be enough. Now on the play, do we keep Consign to Memories? Or copies of Consign to Memory? Do we keep it? Let's re-include the Gaze instead of Unburning Inquiry, maybe? No. 1 Ox. Maybe we don't need the full play set of Consign to Memory. Maybe we don't play it at all on the play. On the play we have the ability to be faster than Eldrazi. Yeah, no fear, guys. Being on the play, I will play no sideboard cards. At least not now. Okay, this is not the best keep, but it is a keep. We have access to 2 basic lands, 3 enablers. We already have 1 Stinkwood Imp. Boxwalkers is also a good card. We keep 7. My opponent is mulliganing to 6. Okay, so now Scouting turn. We crack it for a basic mountain, of course. Let's start with Faithless Looting. Oh, we have Cephalic Elysium for turn 3. So we can discard Stinkwood Imp, of course. My opponent can have Fairy Macabre, but I think we'll just discard Poxwalkers anyways, because this gives us the strongest possibility on turn 2. We can discard Cabal Therapy if we can. If we find an Arcomoeba, we can have a Poxwalkers on turn 2 immediately. My opponent has Ancient Tomb. That heralds the end. It is scary, but it could be worse. It could be a turn 1 Flash Wrecker or something. Okay, Fairy Macabre. Fairy Macabre, so now we need to rebuild our graveyard. Another Dredger. That's why we are here for. We are here to find Dredgers. Let's discard both of them. Now we have a Badlands. I still think we play the basic island, so we can crack Cephalic Elysium on turn 2 and also cast Burning Inquiry. Let's see what my opponent does. Eye of Ugin, so they have access to 4 mana post Eldrazi spells. Oh, Kozilek's Command. Okay, so no Dredgers for us again. Bad news for us. At least we'll have 3 lands to flashback Faithless Looting. We draw. LED? LED is actually good. I think we will always play Cephalic Elysium here. We don't want to discard Cephalic Elysium by accident. Let's play LED. And let's burn the Inquiry. Okay, no Dredgers yet. Another Cephalic Elysium and Faithless Looting for next turn. My opponent did discard Ghost Vacuum and Thought-Knot Seer. And then Yavimaya. Great cards, actually. We can crack Cephalic Elysium. We already have 3 showed. We can crack Cephalic Elysium only to draw 3, discard 3 at the end of this turn. We don't need to pass the turn immediately. Let's see what my opponent has first. We could crack Cephalic Elysium first. Okay, just a Vexing Bubble. We could crack Cephalic Elysium in our turn to maybe sacrifice our hand, discard our hand. Okay, now that my opponent has a Wasteland, we will crack Cephalic Elysium. But I think it is wiser to... Yeah, no Dredgers. It is wiser to not go all in again against my opponent, since they have Fairy Macabre and other stuff. This is a tough matchup. My opponent attacks, dealing 4 damage. Come on, deck. Otherworldly Gaze. Let's cast it, right? Okay, great hits. Oh, Dredge Return is not the best hit because my opponent has a bubble, but now we can definitely cast Ox of Agonas. We can do it twice, unless my opponent has a way to get rid of it at some moment. So let's exile you. We have only 1 Dredger. Let's see if my opponent has another Fairy. No Fairy. Okay, my opponent has 2 cards in their hand. We dredge 5, we dredge 6. Amoebas are great. We have Anger and another Ox. Alright. Anger, Angry Zombies, Angry Oxen. We have 2 Ox of Agonas attacking with haste. Double 5-3, actually. Can we win the game this turn? Out of nowhere, out of the blue. Can we win this game? Let's exile you, and you. 1 more. Cabal Therapy. No, actually, it is better to exile Dredge Return instead of Cabal Therapy, right? Because my opponent has Vexing Bubble. Cabal Therapy is better to return multiple times a single Poxwalkers. Yeah, let's exile Dredge Return and Faithless Looting. Poxwalkers could enter the battlefield untapped, right? That would be fair. We already have 12 power in play with haste. We dredge 6. We dredge 6 again. We have 2 bridges. Unfortunately, my opponent can get rid of our bridges at instant speed, so let's not count on that. Let's try to hit another Narcomoeba. Okay, we did hit another Narcomoeba. We have 13. Yeah, my opponent is preemptively sacrificing their token just to get rid of our bridges. And now we have 13 power in play and 1 extra Poxwalker is there. Let's attack first. I don't think we need to hold creatures back, right? Because if we attack with everyone, my opponent cannot tap Ancient Tomb anymore. So let's attack. Yeah, guys, I think we have this. Whew. Yeah, down to 1. Now let's cast Cabal Therapy, sacrificing Poxwalkers just to have double Poxwalkers again. And this was after a Fairy Macabre Lex command, Vexing Bubble. Yeah, guys, let's see if my opponent can win from here. They cannot tap Ancient Tomb anymore unless they have a second Yavimaya in their deck. Even if they have a second Yavimaya, they will have access to only 5 mana this turn. And I say 5 mana, sacrificing their Eldrazi token that can block. So I don't think they have a single way to escape here. Okay, they play a Courtyard, choosing Eldrazi. 2 cards in their hand. Tapping for green. Eldrazi Proposer, it will put 2 bodies in play, but they need more than that. Sacrificing Vexing Bubble, drawing a card, and conceding the game. Woo. Well, guys, I think I need to stop a little bit to rest, but let's keep going tomorrow. Hey guys, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Yesterday I was super tired to finish that league. This league actually, this is round 4. Let's finish this league on a high note. We are paired against Triac. This hand relies too much on our Burning Inquiry. Let's mulligan this. Okay, this is a little bit better. We don't have a Dredger yet, but we have access to 2 mountains. We can fetch Badlands. We can cast Ox of Agonas from our graveyard after resolving the Burning Inquiry. Not the best of the worlds, but we can try like that since we are on the draw. My opponent has a Surveil land and kept the card on top. Now it's our turn. Poxwalker is not the best draw here. Let's fetch our Badlands and try to resolve our Burning Inquiry. Okay, my opponent has Daze. That's fine. We passed the turn. My opponent replace their Surveil land, go for the Throat in the graveyard. And now we draw Fireplace him, okay? Next turn we can cast Poxwalkers from our hand. Do I play Cabal Therapy on my opponent, targeting my opponent? I think I do. And let's name Psychic Frog. Oh, my opponent has a Psychic Frog. How does he know, right? How does this Dredge guy know about Psychic Frog? You don't need to be a genius on this spot. Okay, my opponent has a Brainstorm. Now we only know about my opponent's Force of Will. Next time we can actually play Poxwalkers and cast Cabal Therapy again. Luckily we will draw a Dredger. Or an Enabler. My opponent has a Tamiyo. And they pass the turn. Now it's our turn. Bridge from below, not great. Let's cast Poxwalkers. I'm not sure if I should cast Cabal Therapy immediately here. I think I would just pass the turn. My opponent is thinking about my Poxwalkers, because we don't want to resolve anything else this turn. So let's see, maybe my opponent draws a second Force of Will, for example. We must maximize our therapies every time we can. My opponent attacks me with Tamiyo. No blocks, no flyers on our side. And a Pounder, that's fine. And a Brainstorm, okay. Now Tamiyo will flip. Poxwalkers is a 2-1, so we can attack Tamiyo next turn. Tamiyo goes up. Now it's our turn, we draw. Faithless Looting, okay. Let's attack first. And now it's a good moment to cast that Cabal Therapy. So let's attack Tamiyo first. Poxwalkers gets -1, -0. Tamiyo goes down to 2. And now I cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. This way we are sure that our Faithless Looting will resolve. We name Force of Will. Okay, my opponent has a Reanimate and another Tamiyo. Let's cast Faithless Looting tapping Badlands. Okay, not great hits, but now we have a Dredger. My opponent has a Reanimate in their hand. They can Reanimate Psychic Frog or Dredger. Let's not discard Ox of Agonas, right? Just to not give some ideas to my opponent. I think the right call here is Bridge from Below. And then we just cast an Narcomoeba. And unless my opponent has a Wasteland, next turn will be super good. Because we have a Dredger, my opponent can reanimate my Dredger, but my opponent doesn't have Force of Will anymore. So we can even cast Faithless Looting with Flashback. We can have a natural draw next turn if my opponent reanimates my Dredger. Yeah, my opponent spent their Reanimate to slow us down. And now they have a second Tamiyo, unflipped. We draw Dredger turn, not the best. If I attack with Poxwalkers here, we have a bridge there. Let's cast Faithless Looting first. Let's see if this will resolve. Because we have Anger, we have something in our deck. Okay, this is good for next turn. Let's discard Stink with Imp. And I guess Poxwalkers. And I think I will attack Tamio here. My opponent can block if they want to exile my single bridge from below. But I think it's better to... Yeah, my opponent does exactly that. Some opponents will get bridge wrong and will block with the Stinkweed Imp. And in this case, we would have 2 zombies. Okay, Brainstorm for my opponent. Hopefully they will not find a second reanimation spell, because we want that Stinkweed Imp in our graveyard for next turn. Thoughtseize, oh, that's unfortunate. Well, it is not game over, of course. We'd like to have that Burning Inquiry, but we will still crack Cephalic Elysium next turn, so that's okay. We'll dredge 5, and we even have a Faithless Looting there. We have so many options here. I will still crack Cephalic Elysium. Maybe we can win this turn. Dredge 6. Dredge 6 again, great. Foxwalkers, Dredge... Yeah, I think we have the win, guys. My opponent has a single card in their hand. Even if this is Daze, we are Daze proof this turn. Let's discard a Dredge return. We have 2 Dredge returns. We can return Ox of Agonas twice. So Narcomoebas enter the battlefield. Since we don't have bridges yet and we have Boxwalkers in our graveyard, let's start with a Cabal Therapy first. Because this way we don't need to sacrifice our Narcomoebas when we name Daze. Just a Fatal Push. Okay. We will win this game, guys. On turn 6. Let's sacrifice 3 Boxwalkers. Bring back Ox of Agonas. And we'll dredge 6. Anger is there. Another Ox. We don't need it. Yeah. We have 2 bridges. And 2 bridges are enough to win the game when you have multiple Cabal Therapies and Dredge return. You know what? Let's be creative here. I will cast Cabal Therapy targeting myself, since my opponent is stepped out without any answers. And I'll name Grave Troll. Yeah, my opponent concedes. I wanted to win with a great attacking troll, but my opponent conceded first. Okay, Into the Flood Maw is interesting against blue-black temple decks, but I'm still not sold on including bounce spells every time against temple, because sometimes they have multiple ways to get rid of our graveyard. Sometimes they have Spellbomb, sometimes they have a Fire Macabre, Surgical, or Cage. It is difficult to be sure about what your opponent will have. And this is a different shell. They have Reanimate, but we never saw cards like Atraxa or Entomb. So I'm not sure if we should include cards like Leyline of the Void, for example. I'm not sure if we are more afraid of my opponent's graveyard or my opponent's graveyard hate. And many times we will not need sideboard cards to win this matchup. It's all about your starting hand. Okay, let's just submit the deck back. I think we are probably good to go for game 2. And according to what we see on game 2, we can mix some answers to game 3 in our main deck. Okay, this is not a great keep, of course. Let's mulligan. Oh, almost there. Almost there. If this Ox were Burning Inquiry or Faithless Looting, this would be a great keep. Okay, not the best, but on 5 this is acceptable. We can have double basic lands here. This will be one of our best examples of how basic lands can improve your gameplay against temple decks. And 2 cards with flashback, which is nice. Of course, my opponent can have a fast turn 1 and we lose this. That's why I told you guys just a second ago that it's all about your starting hand. Some tempo players will keep really defensive starting hands on games 2 and 3. Let's play Basic Island and pass the turn, since my opponent had a slow start. Tracking for this trend, let's grab this opportunity to cast Otherworldly Gaze, since now my opponent doesn't have access to Daze. Okay, those are good hits. LED will be kept on top. I'm not sure about the Burning Inquiry. I think I will keep only LED, since we already have this spell in our hand, and we must dig for dredgers now. Okay, my opponent don't want Tamio. They don't want Tamio on top. Wasteland! Ha! We are Wasteland proof this game. We are not afraid of Wasteland. Definitely, we are not afraid of Wasteland. Let's grab our basic mountain before deciding here, because I will always do that. I will always play LED. But since my opponent didn't do a single thing, I think I would just pass the turn here, especially because they have a Force of Will. Yeah, Force of Will, exiling Force of Will. Now my opponent has 4 cards in their hand. No threats yet. They can have an Orcish Bowmasters. I will not cast Burning Inquiry here. We could cast a single mana Otherworldly Gaze and then a Burning Inquiry, but I think it's wiser to just pass the turn here. Let's see who blinks first. Okay, no one. Oh, my opponent doesn't have the 3rd land. Okay, guys, let's take this opportunity to win this. I'll cast Otherworldly Gaze with Flashback. Yeah, it is a defensive hand. Indeed. Okay, great hits. Of course, my opponent can have maybe some like Fairy Macabre, so let's not celebrate yet. Let's see if this Nakomiba will enter the battlefield or not. It is on the battlefield. Great. Now we are favored to win this game. Let's dredge? No, let's draw our Cephalic Coliseum that we kept on top. Let's play it. Now it's interesting because we don't have Threshold yet. But I still think I will play Cephalic Coliseum here because I don't want to discard it by accident. And since my opponent doesn't have a third land, maybe they don't want to use that wasteland yet. I'm not sure. This is a super interesting situation. Maybe I should risk a Burning Anchory before attacking. Let's attack first. No answers from my opponent. No Orcish Bowmasters. So let's play this, right? And then I'll try Burning Anchory. Let's see if this resolves. Let's see if my opponent has the right timing to crack that wasteland or not. Oh, they have a second Force of Will. Oh, okay. So we still don't have Threshold, but now we are putting our opponent in a difficult situation because they must crack that wasteland. If they don't, we'll have an active Cephalic Coliseum for next turn. Yeah. So let's pay... Actually, I don't think we need to pay blue mana here. Let's undo this action. I don't think my opponent has anything really. Even if they have Daze, it's better. Since my opponent plays with Reanimate, I will not cast this Otherworldly Gaze in their main phase. I prefer to cast Otherworldly Gaze in the end step. Okay, now Nakomiba, Poxwalkers, Volcanic Island would be interesting here, but we don't have Faithless Looting yet. So let's put this into our graveyard, and then we'll just dredge 6. We have an Otherworldly Gaze for next turn, and that Poxwalkers will enter the battlefield. So dredge 6. Okay, 2 Otherworldly Gazes. This card is so good. And we have a second Poxwalkers as well. Let's see what we have on top. Great hits for next turn. Oh, this is super interesting here. I'll keep only one card. Let's put Faithless Looting. We still have a second Basic Mountain, right? Yeah, guys, I think Basic Mountain is superior to LED compared to LED in this situation. Let's keep our Basic Mountain on top. Our fetch land. We'll fetch the Basic Mountain, and we'll have 3 lands against Temple. 3 basic lands is the sweet spot to cast Faithless Looting with Flashback many times. Your opponent can have Daze, Force of Negation, Force of Will, I don't know, Spell Pierce. But if you always can cast your spells twice, at some point you'll just bury your opponent with card advantage. I don't need to cast that Cabal Therapy yet, right? So let's pass the turn here. Maybe next turn I cast that Cabal Therapy naming Daze. Oh, my opponent did find their second land. What do you have, opponent? We have Death Touch Zombies. And you have? Is this Murktide? It can be a 5/5 Murktide. You have double Force of Will there. Oh, just a 4/4. My opponent decided to keep a Force of Will there. I'm not sure why, but they must have their reasons. So this is a glorified Air Elemental. And I think we can attack here with our zombies without worrying too much about it. My opponent will probably, yeah, take that hit. And now we'll cast Cabal Therapy targeting them. And now I'll name Daze, because I want to resolve that Faithless Looting. Is this resolving? Yeah. So let's name Daze. Force of Negation instead, okay. I think I will still cast, since we have... Yeah, we have 2 Faithless Looting there. And force my opponent to lose 2 cards to our Faithless Looting. I think this is okay. Before my opponent grab a third land. Yeah, let's cast Faithless Looting with 3 basics. And if my opponent wants to force this, I'm good. I will not worry about it. Yeah. So now my opponent has a Barrowgoyf, a giant Lurgoyf. Let's see if they find a third land. Oh, they will attack with Murktide. Do I care? I think I don't care. Yeah. We have Lith on board. They have just a frog. Ribbit. And a small frog. This frog is so small. Nakomiba enters the battlefield. And now we know for sure that this Faithless Looting will resolve. So we are good to win this game, probably this turn. We'll dredge 6. And dredge 6 again. We have Cabal Therapy Breach. We have an Ox. We have Dredge Return. Yeah, my opponent concedes. It was too much to handle. And we won one more. Guys, we are fighting for a trophy now with this list. This was supposed to be just a test to push the limits of our deck with 3 basics. But now we are actually playing for a trophy. Let's go. We are paired. Oh, we are paired against Inf. I lost to this player on my last win and in to the top 8 in my last Legacy Challenge on this Sunday. And okay, we are on the play. Let's try to have our revenge. This is a mulligan. Oh no, deck! I really want to win. Not only a trophy, but against this player. Let's mulligan again. On 5. We need to top deck something good here. Let's skip. I'll put Breach and 1 Poxwalker's back. But we need to have some top decks here. Let's try LED. My opponent kept 7. Oh, it resolves. So let's just pass a turn with a Scalding Turn in play. I played against Inf last Sunday, and it was my winning in to the top 8. And I believe they finished on something like that. My opponent starts with Ponder and shuffles their library. Okay, that's a good sign for us. My opponent probably... Okay, another Cephalic Coliseum. Let's play the first one. My opponent probably is playing Blue-Black Temple. And against Blue-Black Temple, before sideboarding, sometimes they have a single spell bomb against us. And of course, counter spells. Brainstorm, okay, to clean a little bit of their hand. They will fetch immediately, right? For another Underground Sea. And a Ponder, second Ponder. Okay, my opponent is building, sculpting a great hand. Oh, shuffles again. And now it's our turn. Okay, we have a Golgari Grave Troll. Let's think here. I think I will try a Cabal Therapy targeting myself, right? And if that resolves next turn, we can crack both Cephalic Coliseums. Let's see if my opponent probably has a Force of Will. Let's see. No? Okay. Grave Troll. And now we'll pass the turn. I'm not afraid of Animate Dead or something like that because I played against Inf just 3 days ago and they were playing Blue-Black Temple. So I believe this is, again, what they are playing. A third Ponder. My opponent is searching for something that isn't a cantrip. This time, they didn't shuffle. Verdant Catacombs, no Wasteland, that's a win for us. Just a Brainstorm, okay? 3 Ponders, 2 Brainstorms, 5 cantrips in 3 turns, maybe 6. And my opponent is passing. Hey guys, we have a chance to win this. Dredge 6. Yeah, those are great hits. Let's crack this for blue. And we'll crack our first Cephalic Coliseum. We have a mountain. We can win with anger here. Dredge 6, Dredge 5, and draw. That's okay. Only 2 dredgers on our top 26 cards. My opponent concedes. We won our first game. After sideboarding will be harder because my opponent probably has a mix of graveyard hate spells like Spell Bomb, Gravedigger's Cage, maybe something else. So it's always difficult to play against this deck because being on the draw, we could include some bounce spells, but if my opponent has a turn 1 cage, they will probably just protect their cage with a plethora of counter spells. So it's not that easy to just bounce their cage, or if they have a spell bomb, bouncing it is not the best. We have Consign to Memory. We could include Consign to Memory trying to counter my opponent's artifact, but I'm not sure if that's our best plan. Okay, this is a keep. Not the best keep, but it folds a little bit to Wasteland, but I think it is a keep. Maybe you can fetch a basic mountain here and ignore Cephalic Coliseum for a while, maybe. I will keep this. Let's see what we draw. Let's see what our opponent does. Oh, they have a Wasteland. And a Gravedigger's Cage on turn 1 from a Wasteland. So maybe my opponent doesn't have another land yet. Okay, since they have Wasteland, we already have our answer. Let's grab a basic mountain here. And we'll loot. Okay, we can discard some dredgers. We have 3 lands. We can cast Narcomoeba next turn. Yeah, no second land for our opponent. Can Narcomoeba guide us to a victory? Okay, Boxwalkers is actually good. But I will not grab a black mana yet. Maybe I should. Yeah, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should play Cephalic Coliseum and cast Narcomoeba. Yeah, guys, my mistake. I should do that. I was too focused on the basic lands. Okay, we draw a Stinkwood Imp. Let's cast a Faithless Looting since my opponent has nothing. We'll draw 2 cards, Bridge and LED. We can discard... Okay, Bridge and Imp. Let's play LED. And let's play Cephalic Coliseum. Let's see if my opponent wants to force us to. I believe my opponent will not crack their Wasteland. And this is why my play on turn 2 wasn't the best. I was too excited to play Narcomoeba with basic lands. And you see, guys, you must breathe and think better before doing some decisions. Sometimes we can even lose games of Magic just because of those small decisions. So let's discard Dredge Return, Anger, Cabal Therapy, or Poxwalkers. Maybe Inquiry, because I don't want to help my opponent to draw lands. Even LED. LED, yeah, we will not crack LED with Gravedigger's Cage and play. Don't need to. We will draw. Badlands, okay. We draw our Badlands. And now, 2 turns later, we can cast our Poxwalkers. But now it has haste. So actually, it was just 1 turn late. So my opponent should have 3... we should deal 3 more damage this game against my opponent. It would be 11 points of life for them instead of 14. Dark Betrayal. Okay, we have a Breach from below, so we still have a zombie from our Poxwalkers. That's okay. And now I believe my opponent will crack Wasteland correctly. One thing that I would like to have against temple decks is a second black mana source, because of situations like this one. Maybe Life from the Loam is good. We could include the Life from the Loam and build a 4-color dredge with basic lands. Now what? I can just keep attacking my opponent. I don't think we will win this game. My opponent now has access to blue mana, so they probably have Pounder, Brainstorm, something like that. And they should be on 8 life if I had the best move on turn 2. But I don't think it would be enough either way, because now my opponent has mana to cast their cantrips. They'll probably find whatever they need. Yeah, they didn't shuffle, now they have Undercity Silvers. This seems like a race, but it isn't a race at all, because of course my opponent will have a giant blocker at some point. But let's keep fighting. I think I'll crack this just to thin the deck. Maybe we can draw a Narcomoeba and cast Narcomoeba with haste. So, okay, a Volcanic Island, Golgari Thug, and the Final Coliseum, okay? Okay, we forced our opponent to discard a Psychic Frog, a Brainstorm, and a Daze. Those are good hits. Let's attack, dealing 3 damage. My opponent is on 8. They would be on 5, 4 now. I'm just doing that math to know if my mistake, my punt, is decisive to lose this game or not. Yeah, now they have a giant Murktide and a Tameo. Yeah, I knew about it. At some point it would be... Sometimes you can win cheesy games like this one. Just and now we have an Narcomoeba. It is not over because my opponent always can do a wrong attack here and we can have some zombies. We have 1 bridge in our graveyard. My opponent will definitely attack with their giant Murktide. I think I'll keep Narcomoeba in my hand, but maybe I should cast that Narcomoeba and crack LED to crack Cephalic Coliseum to see. Yeah, this would be better. This would be better. Yeah, let's block here, but that will definitely be better. I lost an opportunity to have more zombies here. Okay, it's morning. Wake up, Mahfuz, wake up. Dredge 5. Yeah, we have some more Narcos, but they will not enter the battlefield with Cage. Yeah. We did find a second bridge from below, so we have 2 zombies here, but my opponent has 5 cards in their hand. I'm still doing that math to see if my punt is decisive or not. Now my opponent has 2, I would have... No, they have an Hydrogoyf, okay, so I'm relieved. We could put our opponent down to 1 life, but that's it. Maybe no, maybe you could win this game, because now my creatures have haste. Yeah. But now my opponent knows about it, they will not attack with everyone. They ponder first, shuffles. Yeah, they will attack only with Tameo. We will draw. Another Imp. Yeah, and Blue Dredge would have a better match here against this deck, even against Cage. Let's concede here, guys. Oof. Let's wake up. Now on the play, I could include some bounce spells. Maybe Anger is not that good, because my opponent has so many Wastelands. Sometimes we will not find our basic mountain. We can take some of our threats to include 4 bounce spells. If we had access to green, I would include some Pick Your Poison. But let's try like that. Maybe this is enough. Oh, how to say no to this, right? Turn 1 looting, turn 2 breakthrough. We have our best dredger in our hand. But this is not so reliable. Okay, my opponent's going down to 6. This is not so reliable because if my opponent counters my Faithless Looting and has a Wasteland, this hand can lose in blink of an eye. Let's grab our Volcanic Island here, and we'll cast Faithless Looting. Last game, my opponent had a turn 1 Wasteland and Gravedigger's Cage, so let's see. Okay, now they have a Force of Will. Exciting Days, good to know. 1 less Days. And we need to draw something here. Oh, they have a Spellbomb. Okay, guys, this is going to be hard and difficult. Let's just pass a turn. Or maybe it would be quick. Maybe my opponent wins this in a fast fashion. They have a Ponder, okay. Didn't shuffle, they have now a Surveil land. They don't want a 3rd land, so they must have lands in their hand. They have 3 cards in their hand. We draw Cephalic Coliseum, not bad. But since my opponent has a Spellbomb, I think I will just pass the turn. And then next turn we can discard the Golgari Troll due to hand size. Oh, a second Spellbomb. And no 3rd land, okay. So we are playing slow, and maybe this will force my opponent to do something. I will discard the Grave Troll. And now my opponent has 3 mana, okay, a swamp, and nothing else. My opponent is playing defensively. Let's dredge 6. Okay, Narcomoeba, Ox, and Cabal Therapy. Let's see if this is enough to force my opponent's first Spellbomb. Yeah, it is. 1 down. My opponent will draw an extra card from it. And now we'll play Badlands, I guess. Let's cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Because now we can even cast Poxwalkers next turn. So let's name Murktide Regent. Yeah, they have Murktide Regent. How does he know? They Cabal Therapy Master. Okay. And now? And if you... In case you were wondering how... Oh, a third spell bomb. Come on. In case you're wondering how did I know about their Murktide, comment here below and I will answer you why I knew about it. Okay, now I can cast Poxwalkers or Stinkweed Imp. Let's start with Imp because I know about Daze, right? And my opponent will not Daze my Stinkweed Imp. Yeah. And next turn we can cast the Poxwalkers. Okay, my opponent has a Wasteland. They are going for Cephalic Coliseum. So now we cannot play around Daze anymore. Of course, we can cast Cabal Therapy sacrificing our Imp. We can do that. Let's see what is better. Let's attack first, dealing 1 damage. If I cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent, they will probably crack a second Spell Bomb. Let's force their Daze first, because they have Force of Negation and Daze. Let's see if they want to Daze that. Yeah? Now they have a Force of Negation and a Surveil Land in their hand. We will pass the turn. We could cast Cabal Therapy here, sacrificing our Imp, but I think it will just force my opponent's second Spell Bomb and we will lose everything. Yeah, they will sacrifice it anyways. They want to draw something. Yeah, my opponent is fearing that we can raise them some... Because Spell Bomb is not a permanent answer, right? At some point they will crack a Spell Bomb and maybe we can rebuild our deck. We have only 11 cards in exile so far, after 2 Spell Bombs. My opponent has a Force of Negation, 1 good card on top, and 2 unknown cards. One of them is Murktide. Okay, now our Stinkweed Imp is in full defense mode. Oh, into the Flood Maw! But my opponent has a Force of Negation. Probably with a blue card. I don't think my opponent would cast Murktide without having a second blue card. Right? Right? Okay, we have some options here, and I think the best one is to wait a little bit more and cast the Poxwalkers. Let's play for the long game. My opponent has a 6/6, we have 4 power in play. They have a Brainstorm, okay. And a Psychic Frog. Okay, now... my opponent has only 2 cards in their hand. They opted to not attack. We have a 4th land. A 4th land is good. Do I go for it? We can attack with Poxwalkers first. Let's stack. Okay, my opponent takes the damage. We have 0 cards in our graveyard and 4 lands in play. Our opponent also has 4 lands in play and 2 creatures. We have 4 cards in our hand. Let's see if my opponent will wait patiently without attacking here. Okay, they have something else. Oh no, the second frog. Ribbit. Let's see if my opponent will attack this time. Not yet. Okay. I think I'll go for it, right? We have 1 turn window here to do something. So let's cast this into the Flood Maw, targeting Spellbomb. Using my opponent, let's see. But we need to draw something extra here because my opponent has a Force of Negation. It will not be that much better than that in the future. So let's try now. A Volcanic Island, okay. So, my opponent can have, maybe has some answer to break through. They can have a Force of Negation and a blue card. They have a Spellbomb, Force of Negation, and blue card. But I have no choice, no other choice than try to win the game now. So a breakthrough with X equals to 1. Oh, they have Daze. Okay. Now they have only Spellbomb. Do I attack with Poxwalkers? Let's just pass the turn here. Because my opponent can always attack me with a double Psychic Frog, but so far they don't have 6 cards in the graveyard to give flying to both frogs. Oh, my opponent will attack? No? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, this wasn't a good attack. Now it's our turn. We draw an LED. Not the best. It's a way to discard our Grave Trolls. Let's not hide this, because my opponent can have a lost Thoughtseize in their deck. So, better to just play LED here. Okay, Brainstorm. We saw 1 cage last game and 3 spell bombs this game. So maybe my opponent has only a single cage and 3 spell bombs. Or maybe 3 and 2. Oh, now they have a cage. Oh, can we win this? Okay, my opponent has 0 cards in their hand. Can we win this game against double Psychic Frog, Murktide Regent, Spell Bomb, and Gravedigger's Cage? Can we win this game against this deck with so many graveyard hate and so many aggressive threats? Can we win this? I will not give up, guys. I will not give up. We still have bounce spells in our deck. We still have ways to force my opponent's blocks at some point. Maybe we can draw a second Stinkweed Imp. Oh, and you see? Thoughtseize. So I will not give up yet. Second LED. Come on, deck. Come on. Now I will hide this information because the second LED has no use here against Cage. And maybe it's a card that we can discard if we draw a Faithless Looting or something. At some point, my opponent needs to attack to win this game. Okay, they are discarding... Oh, they are giving flying to Psychic Frog. And to the other one. Murktide gets bigger. So I think they will attack with everything. Okay. I'm forced to block Murktide here and give 2 cards to my opponent, unfortunately. Murktide dies. Stinkwood Imp is in our graveyard. Let's see if my opponent wants to crack their Spell Bomb or not. They cast Brainstorm. And a 3rd Psychic Frog. Okay. Let's see. I think my opponent will let me bring this Stinkwood Imp back. Because... Oh, you have a second one there. And a Bridge. Because they have 2 layers of protection now. Gravedigger's Cage and Spell Bomb. So even if I cast some Stinkwood Imps, I think my opponent will just let me do it. I'm not sure if this is right. Maybe this is just wrong. A wrong decision, but I can understand what my opponent is doing that. Now we have 2 Death Touchers again. And my opponent cannot give flying to every Psychic Frog. Oh, okay, aggressive mode. So let's block 2 of them. And now I'll even have more zombies for our trouble. Okay, my opponent wants to kill my Stinkwood Imp. Let's order this properly. So Stinkwood Imp first, and then Bridges trigger in the right order. So now we have 2 zombie tokens, and my opponent has just a single Psychic Frog. Now I think my opponent will crack Spellbomb. We can crack 1 Cephalic Elysium here, just to draw extra cards. Okay, my opponent has a Thoughtseize, down to 10 life, and now we'll just dredge here. Okay, my opponent let me have my Stinkwood Imp again. They're still waiting for, holding that Spellbomb for as long as they can. But now we can attack with our zombie tokens. So maybe the tide is turning in our favor. My opponent will block with their fish token, okay. We cannot cast Dredge Return, we cannot cast anything else. Okay, now my opponent will crack Spellbomb. Finally. They want to draw something extra here. After 3 Spellbombs, I think my opponent doesn't have a 4th one, right? I believe my opponent has only 3 Spellbombs. Let's believe that. And because of that, I think I can even crack LED if I want to put both Grief Trolls in my graveyard now. Or maybe I can just top deck Bounce Spell and win the game. My opponent will not attack. That's great. Whoa! A 2nd Stinkwood Imp. That's great news. Let's cast it. Let's see if this resolves. Okay, it resolves. Can we attack here with everyone? Pushing some damage. Maybe my opponent has removal spells in their hand now. No? Okay, they will block a zombie token, so they will discard some cards. At least 1. Okay, Hydroblast. Yeah, not the best card against us. In this situation, I mean. Oh, and oh, Petty Theft. Okay. So my opponent can cast Brazen Borrower now. They are down to 6. And they cast the Fairy. This is such an interesting game. Because it seems like we couldn't win this game at all. And so far we are... Oh, now my opponent has a Ghost Vacuum! And a Tameo. What? Can we win against this deck? Please, please. Okay, my opponent will not attack. Now what? How many? We still have some copies of Into the Floodmaw in our deck. But I think we want to have at least 7 cards in our graveyard to have the opportunity to crack Cephalic Elysium at some point. Ghost Vacuum, Gravedigger's Cage, 3 copies of Spellbomb, multiple threats. Let's dredge 6. Okay, the 3rd Into the Floodmaw is there. We have only 1 bounce spell in our last 18 cards. And we cannot attack anymore. Or maybe with 1 Stinkwood Imp? If I attack here, my opponent will definitely block with Brazen Borrower. That's maybe okay. My opponent activates Ghost Vacuum, I can crack 1 Cephalic Elysium in response. Let's attack with both. Let's try to bait our opponent here. Let's see if they get the bait. Because I can cast another Stinkwood Imp as a surprise in my second main phase. Oh, my opponent is blocking. What? Okay, my opponent probably thinks that they can win this game with Tameo. Okay, my bait did pay off. We'll crack Cephalic Elysium targeting ourselves. My opponent doesn't have anything there. Let's dredge 5 and draw 2 cards. Faithless Looting and Scalding Tarn. We'll keep Stinkwood Imp and we'll play it. My opponent is contemplating this super fortress full of Stinkwood Imps. This is like the 4th or 5th or maybe the 6th Stinkwood Imp that I cast this game. Okay, my opponent will exile 1 of them. Wise choice. They can even exile my second one now. They have mana to put my Stinkwood Imp in play. Not sure if this is would be their best. Oh, it is what my opponent is doing. Okay, they want to put my own Stinkwood Imp in play. Okay, so now we will draw Nakomoiba. Not the worst. Not the worst. We don't have haste anymore. So let's just attack with Stinkwood Imp here. Let's see if my opponent wants to block. They want to block. Okay, okay, guys. This is a big brain moment. This is a big brain moment here. This card is my card, like it's not a copy. So if it dies, it will be put on my graveyard. So I need to find my remaining copies of Breach from Below here. So let's... We have only 10 cards. Will Big or go home? Let's dredge 6 or let's dredge 5 and draw 2 cards. If I dredge 6, I will have only 2 cards remaining after this. So I have higher chances of hitting Breach from Below. So that's it. Okay, 2 bridges. Let's draw. Okay, Thug is not bad. Let's discard our Thug. Okay, well, Thug is actually bad because we cannot keep it. But we'll have an Amoeba now. And now we'll have some triggers. Yeah! I can't believe we are doing it, guys. I'm in shock. I'm shocked. Let's cast this Nakomoeba. We have 9 power in play on turn 18. After 3 copies of Spell Bomb, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Ghost Vacuum, and every single flyer that my opponent... And my opponent did concede. We have these guys. We even have a legacy point to play on NZD's Showdown. Oof. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. What can I say? What can I say? Well, let's bring ourselves together to do some comments about our deck. Okay, guys. Oof, this was a battle. This was definitely a battle. A battle. So, what can we... I cannot believe I won that game. It was probably my most epic match in my history as a Dredge player. Okay, so, let's not get too excited, right? Let's learn a little bit about our deck after this incredible league. Let's address some points. First of all, the Turbo Dredge shell works. Sometimes we win games of Magic faster. I still cannot believe what we did at the end of this league. Okay, so sometimes we can win faster because of anger, and we saw this a lot in this league. So the Turbo Dredge shell with mountains, Volcanic Island or Basic Mountain, it definitely works. So I apologize for my mismatched Golgari Trolls. I didn't saw this before, even my Basic Mountains and this ugly Basic Island, unfortunately. But, well, we did it. So the shell works. About the basic lands, I'm not sold on them, of course. This, as I said at the intro, this was supposed to be only a test. I wasn't thinking about winning a trophy with this deck. It worked, of course. But I think we got a little bit lucky at some moments here, hitting 1 extra land, some fire, some here. And I think probably the right call here would be having only 2 or even 1 or even none basic lands. But this is why tests are for, right? We are testing here to just try to grab the details, not only the shell of the deck, but the details. How many lands? Do we really need badlands? Do we actually want a second black source? Burning Inquiry, is this card good or not? Maybe we should just have 2 basic lands, or mountains will always be Volcanic Islands and Badlands, or Underground Sea. And maybe we just need to go back to careful studies. Maybe this is just better. After this league, I will keep testing without recording to see if this will actually pay off or not. Having double mountain and 1 island definitely paid off on our 4th match, because we could cast Faithless Looting with Flashback using basic lands against a tempo deck. So this felt really nice. I'm not sure if this is needed, but it felt like I was doing something different and good. And the shell works. I think the numbers are also right. I like 3 Poxwalkers, I like 3 bridges. We need the 4th one. I think 3 bridges are definitely enough. And 2 Oxen worked in the deck with double Dredge Return and double Ox. We usually get to our anger easily. What about our sideboard? We didn't need our sideboard too much in this league, like the league before that. Silent Gravestone wasn't that needed in this league, and when we had it, it wasn't the best card, or it was late. But I'm still comfortable playing 7 Graveyard Hate cards in my sideboard, including cards to protect my own graveyard. So maybe Consign to Memory is not what we need. Maybe we just need to go back to Leyline of Sanctity, because it can even protect us from Nihil Spellbomb. So maybe Leyline of Sanctity is the way to go against our opponent's last deck, for example, or last opponent. Maybe if we had a Leyline of Sanctity, that would be good, knowing that my opponent's deck plays with 3 or even 4 spell bombs, for example, and Thoughtseize. So maybe this would be better than having Consigned to Memory. Okay, that's pretty much it. I hope you did enjoy this amazing epic league with me. If you are new to this channel, click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. YouTube told me that more than half of my views here on YouTube are from outsiders, people who are not subscribed to the channel. So please do it. Do it. It's your best way to help me as a content creator for free. And if you want to go to my Patreon to check out my guides, my special guides, sideboard guides, and full guides, gameplay guides, to play every dredge deck that I play here on the channel, you should go there. Patreon.com/thedredgeguy. Okay? See you soon. See you on our in your next video. Bye.